hopefully we get to see some differences already from the start. And
We have Cassidy starting in Sanctuary, where everybody else goes straight to Link's house. Salty Fry then save and quits after the item, as well as Dr. Bob.
well, we got already 3 bombs, so no real need to go to the uncle for finding bombs. So
Yeah,
maybe...
that's the main purpose of doing the Uncle Start is just a couple more item checks to get bombs. So getting bombs right away does devalue that quite a bit.
Yeah, so you can then later decide to check the uncle in combination with the front of escape if you need to, and do that one just a bit more efficiently. Cassidy also going to give us a lumberjack check here.
Not needed. Just 50 rupees on the lumberjack. So Aga won't be required for that, but there's lots of other reasons that Aga could still be required. Literally, Jen picks up a sword in the chest near the uncle and is opting to go straight to front of escape. So this is a fun play.
Yeah, basically doing the standard opening in an open seat. At least
Just
partially.
with more death warping, probably.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, you don't have to
Yeah.
go back or do the Dark Cross on your first visit.
The way I look at it is like one of the benefits of doing the front of escape first like this on so few hearts is that it's really easy to death warp. It doesn't cost a lot of time. So if I'm in this situation, I'm definitely doing Dark Cross.
And that is an interesting set of items in Blind Side Out. We got a lamp and we got a cane of Samaria.
Yeah, Cane of Samaria doesn't really help a ton right now, but it's most likely required. I think it's definitely required because we already know 2 pendants. Cassidy's going up to Sahasrara really early.
Well, this might just be an early play into Pendant Eastern to check 4 items in the front, and if there's nothing, just leave it forever. And was that the green pendant on Palace of Darkness? Or was it somewhere else?
I think I missed it. We'll find out later, at least, when they go to the Dark World.
Because if it really was...
Yeah, Cassidy's going straight into Eastern. So this is definitely a gamble that can be pretty good, right? Because Eastern and Sahasrara, especially when it's a pendant and you don't have the bow, not places you really want to go. So some of our runners may opt to just not go there if it doesn't lock Dark World access. But if there's something good here that isn't locking Dark World access, Cassidy will have it early, way before everybody else.
Yep. Also, you get one hint that is potential hint for the boot that others might not get. And that always can help out a bit.
Literally, Jen does take the Death Warp at Zelda's cell and is going into the Dark Room towards Dark Cross. If this is a key, if it's a vanilla key, literally Jen can get all the way to the back of Escape.
Well,
by doing a few more Dark Rooms.
We at least know that it won't be a key since Cassidy already picked it up in Sanctuary in the start. But there's no way for Jin to know if there wasn't a Sank start. But yeah, apparently I was right and spotted that green pendant is an Eastern Palace hint from our good old friend, and that is the possibility for another bow being in GT.
Just a map in Dark Cross for literally Jen.
Oh. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I am not that fond of going for the Dark Cross from the start right away. If you did not find the key. Because if you can get to check out the back of escape earlier and get your Dark Cross information that way.
Yeah, I definitely prefer checking Dark Cross from the back, but it can be difficult to make that call when you just got a sword at the Uncle drop.
Yeah.
We get a glove there in the dam, so literally Jen will be able to check the back of escape, no problem. And Dr. Bob is checking the race game blind. Just 10 arrows, so.
No need to pick those up. And apparently chat wants to correct you, and Dark Cross should have been
Oh, was it a bottle? Oh, I didn't see the item pop up, and then she opened the menu, and I saw the map. Guess I just assumed.
Oh, that does change things a bit, so it's actually in quite nice play then there, since you have the bottle on your first trip to CAG.
Yeah,
So you can
literally
also
Jen
check
will
Sick
be
Kid.
able to check Sick Kid a lot easier than everybody else, for sure.
That was a pretty lackluster mini-modem cave. We got a red boomerang out of it, but
The early game routing in an open seed, it really doesn't make like a big difference because like all these places that the runners are going, everyone's going to be going there. But little things like finding that bottle before going to Kakariko can definitely help.
yeah, and imagine if that bottle holds the flute, for example.
Right.
That would instantly make quite a big difference, since Jen could just activate that flute in CAG.
So it looks like the only thing Cassidy got from the Eastern Dip was the cape.
Ooh,
And-
that is...
And knowing that the sword and the lamp are also available, that puts Aga in logic. I don't think the cape was behind the dark room, but it wouldn't matter anyway, right? Because the lamp is available.
Exactly. Since that lamp is accessible from the start, even if it were in the vanilla big key chest, or in the big chest within vanilla big key, it would be in logic.
Alright, Jen does get that small key out of Sanctuary. I imagine she'll go straight to back of escape here. Yep. Salty Fry just a little bit ahead there.
Salty Fry probably gonna go pick up that bottle in the Dark Cross.
We have the hook shot in the back of escape.
So probably
Yeah, that puts a lot of the mountain in logic.
That is true, but it also would mean if we find the Moon Pearl, we have now a possible West Darkwood access through Aga. So...
Yeah, the hookshot's one of those weird items where it kind of makes it look more like an Agaseed. At the same time, it makes it look less like an Agaseed. But the only way we can know is by either killing Aga or going to the mountain.
Yeah, and with about 10 somewhere items available to us now, I probably would assume everyone would go to the mountain first.
Some people make those crazy gambles, though, right?
Well, it would certainly be a difference if you had the Moon Pearl or knowledge about the Moon Pearl.
It's actually surprising to me that Salty Fry is going up to Sahasrara instead of just going straight to the mountain and with these items that he has. I don't think he'll go into Eastern, though. I think it's just Sahasrara for him.
Yeah, it's... aside from Eastern, skipping Sahasrara is a very big risk. If you only skip those 2 to 3 items in Eastern, that's a gamble you can do, but if you skip all 6 of them, it's too likely you just skipped something that could be
Right.
important later. And
So Dr. Bob, who grabbed his key before doing front of escape, is going all the way through the escape to get these items, not having been to South Shore yet to get those gloves.
well, certainly a play you can do, and it doesn't really cost that much more time.
Yeah, it's not a very significant time loss.
I mean, if you're already in the Dark Cross and you just have to go on those screens, it's almost the same time as if you would save and quit and then go from Sanctuary back there. So,
And now he has the hook shot to single dip the dam. Time save. Let's go. All right, Salty Fry is making the play up the mountain. Gets there a little earlier than everybody else because I don't think he's done front of escape yet.
nothing worthwhile from the old man.
The Dead Rock giving him a little bit of trouble. Opts to go back for the heal, so he doesn't die on the mountain.
Yeah, with only 5 hearts and those RNG rocks just hitting you over and over, and the dead rocks doing what they do best. Sometimes you just want to take these few seconds to get those 3 hearts back before trying again. Because there's no worse feeling that getting sniped on that last stair by a boulder that just wanted to kill you.
You know, I think dying to a crab right outside Ice Rod Cave may feel a little bit worse.
Yeah, but it's the same category.
Yeah, definitely.
But from that hint, we get the information that we have a unique item in K45 today. So
Yeah, I really look forward to that bug net.
who knows? It could just be the boots.
It could be.
But either way, we would need to find the mirror before we had any chance of accessing it.
Oh, Salty Fry down to 1 heart, but stops that Dead Rock right in its tracks. He'll be able to pick up a couple hearts here before the top of Paradox Cave.
Yep. Guaranteed 2, and if you pick them up with the hookshot, you can get up to 4 actually. If you want. But Salty for not going for that little glitch.
So bottom of Paradox, pretty empty. Here's hoping for top of Paradox.
But yes, Salty Fry not having done the way to the uncle has no sword, so...
And there's the Titansmiths, the Moon Pearl, the Flippers, and some love. Paradox, new Hype Cave? Pretty sure.
Somewhat like it. I mean, you just can go over and do Dark Death Mountain now. If you want.
Yeah, absolutely. That is Dark World access for Salty Fry. I wonder if he'll end up going to the Dark World before getting that sword from Uncle.
And oh, that's the bombos. But yeah, I mean, Aga is pretty much dead at this point, right?
Yeah, I think the only thing Aga could be required for anymore is for Hammer in Pyramid Fairy itself, but just on the regular East Dark World, they have access through the Flippers.
Yep.
And there are ways to sequence break Hammer and Pyramid Fairy, so we probably will not see an Aga kill today. Although Cassidy does have Aga access right now and is in Hyrule Castle, I could definitely see somebody feeling baited into it instead of going to the mountain. But it's a little gambly. Literally, Jen having a lot of boulder trouble here on the mountain.
We did get a lumberjack check very early from Cassidy. It was 50 rupees, I believe. At least it was nothing that would be required in any case.
Every time I say an in plain sight item, the only things I'm looking for is this progression or is it not progression? So which not progression item it is, I can never remember.
I kinda do the same, but I somewhat remember 50 being there, so... And Cassidy taking the Death Warp. Going for the Dark Cross now.
Hookshot Cave looking pretty empty. Just a bottle.
Fire shield in the bottle. Not really something you would want.
Salty Fry is going to get a medallion check there on Turbo Rock Foresta.
And
it is Bombos. Well, that's convenient. The key's right outside.
Yep.
Of course, that does mean that access to Turtle Rock will be mirror locked. Cassidy taking a death in the sewers. Oh. That's not good. Oh. Cassidy is making that Aga play that I mentioned. Like, you have access to Aga. The hookshot gets you to West Dark World. It does feel like an Aga seed at this point. And if you're already in the castle, unfortunately for Cassidy, Dark World access is just up on the mountain.
Yeah, the problem with this play is it would be a West Dark World access if the Moon Pearl is on Aga or on Pyramid Ledge. So it is still a really big gamble at this point. Since...
Maybe Cassidy will die in this first room and then just give up and go to the mountain instead. One more mistake, Cassidy. One more mistake. Darn it.
There are certainly more rooms to die in here in the tower. And this might be one of them.
Salty Bryant going straight to Village of Outcasts. No front of Skullwood step.
Literally, Jen trying to take that Turtle Rock portal to the Dark World and then noticing, well, I need a hammer. So...
That's right. Definitely a mistake I've made every day.
Yeah, that just can happen. You think, oh, I have Dark World. Let's go Dark World.
Yeah, I do that all the time. Because like generally it's more efficient to enter the Dark World up at the Turtle Rock portal, and sometimes you just forget. Oh yeah, no hammer.
Yeah. But so we now have confirmation on Pyramid or on Aga being officially dead, since our second red crystal is Turtle Rock. We just saw from Jen, and that means we would need the hammer to open up the Pyramid Ferry, so we can't find it there.
So it's not the end of the world for Cassidy doing Aga right here. Like, Aga is it's definitely going to be a time loss, but it's not such a large time loss that it's completely unrecoverable.
No, and one possible chance for it to be at least somewhat worthwhile would have been if this hint was somewhat useful. Unfortunately, it was not. But if we have something important on the pyramid, which guessing you would then get way earlier than other people, I'd assume.
Yeah, very true. It can be very difficult to route in the pyramid, depending on the items that you have. Like right now, they only access to East Arc. What they have is through the flippers, and if you don't want to go over to Pod, it can be. It's kind of slow to go over to East Arc with the flippers from Hype Cave.
Yeah, and imagine finding the hammer at the pyramid.
Right. As long as Cassie doesn't die in Aga Tower, I think we can say it's gonna be okay moving forward.
Well, Saltify taking that frog to the Hype Cave, picking up an ice rod along the way on Stumpy. And the mirror. So I would imagine we just turn
Yeah, I think he's gonna turn around
check,
and go get the Hype K or the K45 unique item,
yep.
and finish the Smith sequence. But an important point here is getting the mirror and Hype Cave like that. That draws him away from checking the pyramid, right?
Yep. Probably would.
He's gonna do it anyway though, just to show us wrong. He's gonna get the item on the island, which I believe was the powder.
So.
And Ether and Waterfall Fairy, that's all 3 medallions.
Ooh. So our pedestal options have decreased a bit with the nasty trolls that got hold.
Is it just bow? Bow and boots?
Bow would be needed to get to the pedestal at this point.
Oh, right, yeah, not bow, the other way.
Anti-hammer.
Right. I was thinking of GT. So it's just boots and flute possible? Fire rod, maybe?
Yeah. Those 3 about. I mean, Salty Fry picking up the first sword on Hobo.
I wonder when he's actually going to do Front of Escape. I would think he would do it right now, but I'm not sure if the Smith will actually follow you in there. He will follow you if you drop in the hole, at least.
I don't know, maybe we'll just get to see Catfish. And then the Smith turn in. But looks more like at least Uncle.
Does the frog follow you? Yeah, he won't go in there. That's right. Yeah, so the frog slash the Smith, he won't go into any location that has multiple entrances or multiple ways to leave it. But in a hole, he has no choice. So if Salty Fry really want to do the Uncle Drop, he can. He just has to go all the way around. Looks like he's opting to leave it for now.
Looks like Catfish and then go into Smith.
I think he'll probably do the rest of the flipper checks while he's there. Nice routing, having mirror and the flippers in this situation.
Yeah, it just feels really nice.
I still think he should have gone back for Game 45 though.
Yeah, that's the 2 options you had. I mean, you could have gone and bring that Smith back, get that item in 45. Which, who knows, might just be your boots, so you could do the other checks even faster then.
Dr. Bob is checking the front of Skullwoods for us, just finding some rupees though.
And Jen trying to pick up this last missing rupees to actually pay off our big scamfish here. Not really lucky on the drops so far.
Yeah, a little frustrating to go all the way to Zora and be barely missing some rupees.
Well, that's enough.
5 rupees on the
5
sun
rupees.
prize, though. Very helpful.
And Salty Fry continuing that world tour for Smith. That apparently also is able to swim.
Cassidy finally making his way into Paradox Cave, where he finds out that Aga was not required. Feels bad, man.
And then doing a save and quit. Not even checking Darkwood Mountain.
Yeah, little unusual.
Oh. And our big fish apparently with not the worst of scams today, given about 60% cashback.
So from here, I'd expect Salty to turn in the Smith, re-enter the Dark World, pick up Purple Chest, and then do the North route, front of Skullwoods and Graveyard Ledge. But there's still a unique item down at K45, so that may be like a detour, or he might just beeline for that.
I would assume more you just head to K45 and turn in the purple chest. Pretty much in that go.
Yeah, the routing was it works out a little better if he had gone backwards and like taken the Smith back through Cave 45 and then taken the purple chest up to Graveyard Ledge and just swam over to Catfish. But doing that would have orphaned the pyramid and the hobo and island check. And of course, he has the powder now, right? So that's a really frustrating to turn in for him.
Yeah.
He can't re-enter the Dark World right away.
That is the problem of this one. You can either take out K45 or turn in the powder at this point.
Cassidy, though, seems to be of the mindset that when your gambles don't pay off, you make more gambles and go straight into Pendant Pod.
And I believe that was a map, so we haven't bowlocked Palace of Darkness. And now I get some callbacks to our weekly seed from Sunday, where this exact situation pan out to have the bow in Ganon's tower. And nothing.
Yeah, it was like bow and flippers in the Dark Maze.
But at least we got an hint. I believe the unique item in Mimic Cave was
Fun.
told to us here.
Oh, Cassidy does have a potion, so we will be able to see that potion glitch here. Salty headed into Thieves Town. It's surprising that he didn't do these first 4 on his first time through the village.
Yeah, you can do it. You can also hope to just find the hammer before you go in at all. There are some
I can see why he did it. It's just like it's not a big time loss to double dip the dungeon if you only did the first 4 before. Usually you'll see players do that.
And we're now going to get the northern route, apparently.
Did he do Cave 45?
I still don't think so.
Yeah. And he's not bringing the purple chest with him either.
Yeah, but if you do this now, you can check out the northern route, then
I suppose I could walk back.
Go deeper into Thieves Town or just take the purple chest to K45. So beating a bit throughout here.
Yeah, definitely more than one way to route it. And the only way you can know which is the best way is by knowing where all the items are.
Oh, and one of our trackers thrown up an interesting possible thing that could happen. We have access to that bonus medallion now, which could open up Ice Palace to us to find our hammer there.
Yeah, it's looking not too unlikely at this point. Very little checks left. We still have like the first chest of Swamp. And say if the bow was in Ice Palace, then everything Cassidy's doing is in Logic.
Yeah, this seed has very much potential for to be everything. I
The
mean,
hammer could even be quite horribly just in the back of Thieves Town.
yeah, and then have the or the hammer could also be on blind, and then have, say, the fire rod in the big chest.
I've definitely seen that before.
We are getting at least some of our answers now as Cassidy checks out the bag of Palace of Darkness for just a heart piece.
Literally, Jen also opting to Death Warp out of the first floor of Thieves Town. It's not wrong. I don't think it's wrong to really want to have the hammer before Thieves Town, but especially given Salty Fry's situation where he's done so many other checks already, I'm surprised that he didn't finish Thieves Town without the hammer. I mean, it's still a crystal, and it's just one item location that you might not even be orphaning if there was nothing in there.
Yeah, so Cassidy now checking out the big chest in Palace of Darkness, and I believe there was nothing worthwhile to pick up here.
One thing. Not even one thing. Not even like a mail upgrade. Cassidy cannot be feeling very good right now. He knows that Aga was not required. He just did a whole pen dungeon that was very slow and got nothing to show for it.
Did the second pendant dungeon at least partially and did get nothing out of it. So I think at this point you are praying to find the bow somewhere and the pet being actually necessary.
Yeah, you gotta make those gambles. You gotta make gambles to make up for your gambles. Okay, so Salty Fry picks up the purple chest and is gonna do Magic Bat. And then I assume he would probably just re-enter the Dark World and check K45 on his way to turn in the purple chest.
Yeah.
It's a little inconvenient having to re-enter the Dark World like that, but you do what you gotta do.
Yeah, at this point.
Maybe
Leaving
hammer on Magic
behind.
Bat?
Leaving behind that K45 when you know there is a unique item.
Right? Like, it's been putting it off for so long.
I mean, if it's the Bugnet, you have done everything right. If it's the boots, you have done everything wrong. So
Oh, he's
how do we
not
wanna go
checking
about
it. Oh my god,
Oh.
Salty Fry. Why are you doing this to us?
And not even having the hammer getting over there is just awfully slow if it actually has something. And imagine it having the hammer.
If Purple Chest is nothing, I have to imagine his next play has to be go straight to K45 and then dip Thieves Sound.
What much else can you do? You can go up,
He can
pick that
go to
bombos
Pod, I guess.
to Ice Palace.
Alright, he goes to Sanctuary, so I'm thinking he is going back to Village of Outcasts.
Right. Actually, where did we get that K45? And wasn't that the Eastern Hint, actually?
Oh, it might have been. So he may not have that information.
Yeah. Good. Or nice of Chat to point that out, actually. I believe that was the Eastern Hint, so only Cassidy got that one, actually.
And Cassidy, of course, doesn't have the mirror yet.
So, okay. If it was Spectacle Rock, then...
In that case, he might go into Thieves Town before checking K45. Yep.
It looks like it.
Alright, Salty Fry opting to go to back of Thieves Town on his third trip to Village of Outcasts. So Bob walked the Smith all the way up to Graveyard Ledge, only to find nothing and walk back. But we are going to get a K45 check here from Bob, I think.
Yeah, we definitely should.
Well, now that I think about it, he has the powder too, so he might also pick up the chest to do Magic Bat and then save and quit.
Oh, this can be so
Somebody go to
hard.
K45.
We just want to know what's over there.
Oh, literally Jen's gonna get us K45. Okay, so literally Jen's gonna go straight to Hyde Cave, find the mirror, and then turn around to turn in Purple Chest and continue to K45. Surely.
Yeah, I would assume so. I mean, you could try to pick up or try to take the purple chest over there if it can swim, which I don't know, but...
The flute in the back of Thieves Town.
Oh boy.
So that opens up the Mire area, including Checkerboard Cave, and possibly Mire itself being completely in logic. Oh, it definitely is, because we know where all three medallions are.
Yep. Surely is. So even more potential to just leave behind that stupid K45. And Dr. Poptastic back on the mountain? Maybe intending to pick up that Bonmos medallion, actually.
That is a very terrifying play. Ice Palace is one of the worst dungeons to have to double dip, and if he ends up doing that and not getting the hammer, it's very rough.
That hammer is still at large, so it may just be the play, and we get a check of the Swamp Palace hint, which told us something probably all of our runners actually know, that there was a unique item in this short cave.
Oh, Jen's doing it. We're going to Cave 45.
This could be big, or it could be absolutely worthless.
Da, 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 da. It's the boots.
It's the boots. So I would imagine Salty Fry, upon finding those boots, which could have been accessible so much more earlier, is a little bit tilted at that point. Just
if he
that
even
little
goes
bit.
there, like he just got the flute, he may just straight up forget to check K45, thinking,
no.
the Mire area.
Oh no. And I mean, after my area, you could just mirror over to desert. We have the lantern, so we have our fire. We could complete desert. But if it's boots locked, it would be horrible if you don't pick those up.
If he remembers K45, he should do it right now. Where are you going? He's fluting away!
Oh no. Oh no.
So, unfortunately, Salty Fry has effectively orphaned K45 completely. He's done everything all the way around it, except for Bombo's tablet.
And that bombos is needed to enter Misery Maya, so we would need to get up the mountain a second time first anyway, so maybe do some other stuff like K45?
Maybe. Nice unique item there in Meyer's shed. Thank you, game, for my single arrow. The arrow of destiny.
Or doing that dip into desert, and getting that information that it maybe is or maybe is not bootstrapped. That hint in Hera being a diary entry, that Grave of Samaria was found
Hey, guys.
long ago on
The fire rod on the torch. So desert is not boots locked. Just desert or just Skullwoods and Turtle Rock are.
Yeah, that is rude.
So this is really unfortunate for Salty Fry. He has very little reason to go back to K45 right now.
So, checking that on our items that we have all over the runners, we are missing a hammer and a bow for Go mode. And that bow might hide out in GT, so we have actually missing hammer for GT mode. This is a very interesting seed, at least to watch. But
It may very well be that Salty Fry is not going to go to K45 until he has reason to go to Eastern and see that hint tile.
If it was in Eastern and not Spec Rock.
Right. But either way, I feel like it's going to be a long time before he makes that call, because right now he can full clear Meyer by going to get the Bombos Medallion. He can make a dip into Ice Palace. He still has a ton of items in Pod that he can sequence break to. And of course, he doesn't know that he'd have to sequence break.
Yeah.
And as soon as he finds the hammer, assuming that it's not behind the fire rod, then that opens up a ton more stuff.
Yeah, but we actually have not that much more potential locations where the hammer could be. I mean,
I think it's gotta be in Meyer, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it doesn't have to be, but it feels like it's in Meyer.
It feels like that. I mean, we have the unique item in Mimic Cave, which it can be, or which could not be the hammer, since we would need it to get into Turtle Rock. But aside from that, we have the front chest of Swamp. We have, and there was the Spectacle Rock hint again, showing us our boots for mob testing. So maybe Salty Fry just getting that right now.
Oh, it wasn't the one in East? Oh, that's good. That's good.
Potentially. Nope. Already checked it. Apparently either forgetting or just checking it from the cave, not jumping down. Ooh. This could turn out very, very bad. I mean, our hammer is definitely not in a very nice position in the seats.
Definitely not.
We have...
Do we know if we left anything behind in Thievestown? Not sure if anybody was paying attention. I know we got the key, but I don't recall if Mapper Compass was in there.
Well, whatever we may have left behind there cannot be the hammer.
Yeah.
Because we would need that for the big chest, and we know where the fire rod is, so the only potential trouble there could be that bow.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of scenarios where Salty Fry not getting the boots like everybody else ends up being okay. Because if he gets bottlenecked enough, he'll end up going to that chest.
Well, I think the only other possible option that would work out somewhat would be then the hammer behind those, behind the fire rod or the boots, especially since that would pretty much lock out everything else that he has to check, more or less.
Yeah, that would I'm sorry, I'm having trouble making myself understood. So that would help Salty Fry find the hammer and the boots, right? If the boots end up blocking so much of the seat, but it doesn't help him in relation to the other runners. Where like Bo in the Thieves Town chest would help him actually have a chance, right? Because he would be forced to make that gamble because he doesn't have the fire rod, where everyone else is going to do fire rod stuff.
Yeah,
And then that could, and when that leads to nothing, and then he's like, oh, K45.
I think that's about the only thing that could actually still help him here.
Right, yeah.
Doing good. Because if he finds the hammer now in Ice Palace, even if the others aren't gonna do that quickly, I would assume in the end that would just pull Salty Fry even further away from the boots. Although the hammer actually would open up Swamp, which is the only possible chance to get close to K45 again.
Right. Yeah, I think if he's going to go to check first chest Swamp, he'd definitely do K45 on the way.
And literally Jen finding that bugnet in the Bonk Rocks. Dr. Bobtastic just about to pick that up either.
So it looks like Salty Fry is going to head to Misery Mire. This is not easy. That's why he went to go get those potions, because he's still on Fighter Sword. Fighter Sword slashes and pokes and dashes don't really do anything to Vitreous, so he'll be forced to do spins. And it's a lot of spins.
Yeah, and this, how Salty Fry is playing right now reminds me more of my last restream here. On that unfortunate seed where the big chest in Thieves Town had the Bombos medallion, which was needed for the boots. I believe you also commentated that, so...
I commentate everything.
Yeah, this...
I'm going to keep signing up until they tell me I can't do it anymore.
Well, I think they're happy to have a commentator who is willing to do so much of this. So I think you are having to work quite a bit until they get to that point. But yeah, now Cassidy doing blind and Bobtastic on the way to the flute.
Salty already run into a little trouble in Mire 2. Those Wizrobes tagged him and he took about 4 hearts of damage. Lucky heart drop though, makes it not so bad. So the one thing Salty Fry does really have going for him is that blue potion, or the blue potions combined with half magic and the cape. It's still going to be like a really long Vitreous fight, but it's not going to be nearly as dangerous.
So Cassidy now activating that flute. And we will see if Cassidy remembers that hint. It certainly
going back to
it.
the Dark World, yeah. This is good.
This is very good. so I imagine pulling out those boots then likely would incline Cassidy to head over to Mire, because you can at this point complete Mire and Desert. Well, at least you would find out that you need bombos for Mire, so you can complete Desert and get the fire out that way. And Salty Fry not finding the hammer, but our mirror shield, Maya.
That's really helpful if you want to look good. The mirror shield is a very stylish accessory in today's Hylian fashion world.
I mean, now if you have problems with wrist ropes, you can just reflect their beam.
Does it do that really?
It does do that.
I don't think I've ever been lucky enough to find that out. Meyer, second item, just 20 rupees. Salty Fry gonna get nothing here out of Misery Meyer and still have to do a really long fight.
Oh, this is...
So this is both good and bad for Salty, right? Because while Meyer ends up being like this big time loss for him, it's just one more place that didn't have any progression to lead him away from those boots.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, his next play is probably Ice Palace.
I would assume so. And Cassidy apparently skipping K45 as well.
Did he? Oh no!
I mean, you have the mirror, you have the flute, you can't turn in.
He was on the way. He just must have forgot it.
Oh. I don't know. This turns out to be very, very frustrating to watch.
Unfortunately, Jen going into Palace of Darkness, which, while being completely bow-locked, leads to nothing.
Maybe just checking out that hint and then going out? Nope.
Nope.
I remember have done that before. Checking if Pendant Pot is bow-locked, seeing it is bow-locked, and then only going further in to check that hint.
Alright, Salty Fry starts his Fighter Sword Vitreous fight. This is gonna be a long one. I think it's like 5 or 6 spins. 5 or 6 double spins to kill Eyes.
Yeah, but it gets it done eventually.
Yeah, Cape and Half Magic makes it a lot safer.
I think the much more annoying problem is that you also need to do Fighter Sword spins to...
Oh yeah, to the big eye.
The big eye, and
yeah, that's gonna take a while. I don't have the numbers. Do you know how many spins it is? It's got to be like 20 or something. Here, we'll count. 1, 2. Okay, I'm not counting the whole time.
Well, that's supposed
to Chat count for us. I gotta watch the other runners.
Oh, that's actually also true. The big eye did take damage before, so it's not exactly the full damage we need to do. And Jen apparently haven't left pot. For some reason. And Salty Fry takes down Vitreous.
Take that, Vitreous. So far, Dr. Bob, our only runner to find that fire rod. Or to actually be able to get the fire rod.
Yeah. Jen would be able to, if deciding to...
Yeah, she got a little sidetracked by Pod Eastern.
Yeah, probably still searching for that hammer in hope of finishing Thieves Town completely.
Salty Fry going to Ice Palace. Maybe not the worst play, right? Like, at this point, it really looks like that's going to be where the hammer is, right?
Yeah, either that or Front Chest of Swamp, which actually probably would lead him back to his boots, because he would have to take the Kakariko portal.
Dr. Bob takes down Land Molus, putting him at his second crystal there.
And going back into desert, apparently we still are on the lookout for one more item.
I think it was rubies or something. I don't remember. It wasn't progression. Cassidy opting for Ice Rod strats here on Lambo.
Yeah, not having the boots to get that fire rock just yet. So
Yeah, the Ice Rod is a little more awkward to use compared to the Fire Rod because the projectile is slower, but it does do the same amount of damage.
Yep. Also, I believe there can only be one shot of the ice rod on the screen at a time. Or it just fires that much slower.
Yeah, I think it has the same limitations of the Fire Rod. You just don't notice it with the Fire Rod because it just travels so fast.
We're going to get an Egina check from Cassidy. Meanwhile, Dr. Bobtastic opening Mire.
Yeah, he won't find anything in here, but he'll probably have an easier time with Vitreous.
Yeah.
Although maybe not.
Yeah.
He doesn't have the cape tracked.
That was the point I was about to make. That could actually be a problem. Because doing Vitreous with only Master Sword Spin still isn't the easiest task.
I think you'd have to do 6 spins, 3 on each side to kill all the little eyes. And like you take about 2 hearts every single time you do that with the damage boost strat.
Also,
he'll be able to get it done, especially with that fairy he just picked up. But it can be a little uncomfortable.
And chat pointing out that Salty Fry apparently did find the hammer.
Hammer and Ice Palace. Fun! So
that
completely unlocks Swamp Palace for him.
Yeah, and pretty much the rest of the checks that are open.
So I imagine that like Dr. Bob and Jen, when she does get her Fire Rod, they will not go to Ice Palace very soon, right? Because Ice Palace is terrible without the hammer. And you just got this Fire Rod, so we'll probably see like Skullwoods at least first.
Yeah, but what do you then? Because you without the hammer, you can't pretty much do anything else. So
definitely see Mire done and Desert done, and then I think they kind of run out of options and still have to go to Ice Palace.
Yeah, so you can't do Turtle Rock until you do Ice Palace. And if you go into Ice Palace, you can finish it at that point. So
yeah, so Salty Fry finding the hammer, it seems good for him, right? But it's actually not.
At least potentially not. I mean,
well, now he'll be able to full clear Swamp, and he'll feel really good about that. But then if he's not going to find the boots there to do ice or to do desert, but he might find the bow. And if he finds the bow, he starts going to Eastern and Pod. And if he still has nothing, he'll go into Turtle Rock again, or he'll go into Turtle Rock looking for the fire rod there, or for the boots there to get the fire rod.
Yeah, but as I said earlier, if he intends to do Swamp Palace next, this is the closest you get back to Cave
Right.
45 at that point, and
yeah, hopefully he's aware that he hasn't done it.
Yeah.
It can be a little tricky to remember stuff like that when you had to route the Dark World so awkwardly without the hammer.
Yeah, but if Swamp Palace is the next play, Salty Fry could be still in it. Because at that point, getting the boots not earlier would be unfortunate, but not.
Yeah, he'd feel bad about it.
But it would not really be that much of a problem, since everything he had done until this point was more or less necessary.
What do you think he'd feel worse about? Finding out that he could have had the boots so much earlier, or finding out that he could have had the Master Sword so much earlier? Because he still hasn't been to the Uncle Drop.
I don't even know if I would ever go over to the Uncle at that point. If you really get your boots before going to Uncle. So let's see what he does. And see if
Nice
there is
hammer
actually-
fight.
Yeah, well done. Because, I mean, at this point we know that there is nothing really needed on front of Escape or an Uncle.
Right, yeah.
So
if he does pick up the boots, it may be a long time before he ever even thinks about going there.
Yeah, and he might never go there if he manages to pick up a sword somewhere else.
Alright, this is Salty Fry's moment of truth. So if he goes straight to Swamp here, it's not that big a deal, because he still has the option of going over to Cave 45 after. But I'd really like to see him do it first.
Yeah. I mean, if you remember that hint, which we can assume at this point is not in the mind, he may opt to do it now, but doing Swamp first to get potentially 6 items.
Okay, Salty Fry's back in it, you guys. He's fine, okay? He's fine. Everything's fine. Alright, you gotta give us some frustration slashes though, Salty. Oh, he did a little turn back.
And immediately deciding to go leave for desert.
Bob taking a death on Vitreous, but he did pick up that fairy from earlier. Running a little light on hearts, he's opting to try and play it a little safer here. On Greenmill, though, he is one hit from death.
Yeah, that is a terrifying prospect also. That big eye, at least you can slash it, which still does take time, but it's safer than having to do spins, which you can't continuously charge. Or the big eye will get you.
Yeah, my preferred way to kill the big guy in this situation is to stand in the very center of the room as he's spawning and just slash up until he's dead.
Yeah. That's probably the safest way you can do it.
I think Bob probably killed it a little faster than I would, for sure. So Salty Fry finds his boots and immediately detours from Swamp Palace and decides, let's go get that fire rod. Let's finish Desert. He'll probably go Skull Woods, maybe even Turtle Rock after.
Yeah, I mean, might be an interesting decision. I don't know. Did Salty Fry pick up, or no, Salty Fry never went to Palace of Darkness, right?
I don't think so, no.
So Salty Fry does not have the hint for that unique item in the cave. So if you would have that hint, you may be inclined to finish out Turtle Rock first, in case Mimic Cave does have that bow, which would put you in absolute go mode.
Right. Well, I think he's definitely going to have to choose between going to Turtle Rock or to Swamp Palace. And for most players, it's not really a call, right? Like you go Turtle Rock because the difference between go moding and full clearing Swamp is just so huge. And the only cost of doing Turtle Rock first is that extra climb up the mountain.
Yeah, but the thing is, do you actually want a full clear Swamp at any point, even if you do it first? You are in potentially GT mode. So what you
Right,
want
the
to do,
bow might just be in GT, it's true.
say, I have done, or I have left my boots for way too long out there. Let's just clear all crystals and race straight to GT.
Yeah, that wouldn't be too bad. Like if he just go mode Swamp and then he'd full clear Turtle Rock. He'd definitely full clear Turtle Rock because the double dip is so much worse. And then just go to GT and hope the bow's in there.
Yeah, so I mean, I can definitely see the reason behind doing Desert first and Skullwoods first, because finding the bow or not here or wherever, somewhere else really doesn't make a difference for those dungeons, really. And I mean, you had to go to Desert to pick up the fire rod anyway, so why not do it first?
It's also possible that Salty Fry is just familiar and good at doing that mimic clip and might just skip the bow entirely.
That might be a possibility, although then you actually would need to find another sword at least. So you would still need to check something. So I would say, or if Salty Fry would actually be on Master Sword, I would see that as a potential option to go for it.
I mean, I see him full clearing Turtle Rock in every situation, though.
Yeah, depending on if Laser Bridge would actually be needed, but it's the most likely to still full clear in the situations. Yeah. I mean, on Swamp Palace, it would be probably very likely to just skip out on left side, because you don't really want to do it.
Yeah, very true. I think that's probably the right call. But you never know. I mean, Rando's gonna Rando, right? There might just be two swords on left side, and the last one's in Tile Room or something.
Yeah,
Or it's on the Uncle, I mean.
Yeah, but
Really?
you still have one more hint up in GT, so it could either tell you what is on left side swamp, if you're lucky, or it could tell you about a possible bow or sword location, so maybe that's one more reason to do Turtle Rock first, if you're full cleared anyway.
Oh, the hint in Turtle Rock, right.
Yeah, although there's also that one hint in Swamp that Salty Fry didn't check, so that offsets that possibility. Yeah.
So Salty Fry is going to Swamp. So I think you're right. I think he's just going to go mode this. Or at
Yeah.
the very least, just skip left side.
Yeah, you can do the go mode light version if you want. You can leave the bomb chest behind. You can leave the south chest on the main room behind. And
Yeah,
just
just
go
only
the
check the
backside.
Yeah, I think that's what I would probably do. Cassidy also opting for letting Vitreous out of his home. Nice fight there.
So equipping the hammer here tells me that he does leave behind that chest indeed. So we're seeing at least the go mode go mode light version of Swamp from Salty here.
Yes, if you're skipping that first chest, you're probably skipping the south chest as well.
Yeah, I mean, there are still up to 4 items that you could pick up in the backside if you do all those chests. And all you really need, if you can do that mimic clip, is that one more sword that could be everywhere, even in GT. And seeing that none of our runners has found tempered swords so far, it's actually quite a good possibility to find at least one sword.
The Master Sword is usually something you don't really worry that much about because with there being 4 swords in the pool, it's really likely that you just come across 2 of them in the course of your travels to GT. And like depending on like how deep in the dungeon the big key for Ganon Sour is, you might just be opening a ton of chests in there anyway and finding a sword that way.
Yeah, and even if you do not find that Master Sword before GT, that is not a big problem since you don't need that Master Sword in GT.
Right.
You only need it after GT. And at that point, if you still did not find any sword, Salty Fry at that point could just do the mirror over to the light world, check out Uncle in front of Escape, and that would put him on that needed Master Sword.
Bob, unfortunately, going into Palace of Darkness instead of going over to Ice Palace like he needs to.
Yeah, but if
it makes sense for him though.
It does it though. I mean, if
well, I mean, it's just a more dense item location to check than Ice Palace. He just needs to leave once he finds out it's bow locked, but he's not going to do that.
Yeah, that is the point. If you do know that it's bow locked, I don't know if you still haven't found the bow. I mean, you can bank on the bow actually being in Ice Palace and then unlocking the hammer here, but I don't know if I want to make that or take that risk.
Yeah, I don't think it's a very good gamble at Bob's current item count. Like when you're missing like 100 things, it makes a lot more sense to sequence break pod like this.
Yeah, but if you're only missing one more item and that is actually locked behind an item, sequence breaking is actually quite risky.
Salty Fry opting for menu strats here on Argus. The fighter sword can't kill the puffs with swipes, but you can spin them. The usual way to do this with the fighter sword would be to pull 2 and then spin them both. So the menu strats are a little bit slower there.
Yeah, but they are much safer to execute.
Yes, it is.
If you're not that trained in doing the double spins, it can actually be just slower if you miss a few of those. So
Yeah, I find it surprising coming from Salty Fries, somebody that I see win races like all the time, that he's not doing the double pull.
Yeah. Maybe feeling not so good after.
The boots, yeah, he may be on Soul.
So taking safe strats always a good thing. If you're not sure, you can do the fast strats reliably.
So Salty Fry does leave Swamp Palace without checking all those extra items. It's going straight up to Turtle Rock. But like we said before, I think this is definitely the right call for his situation.
Yeah. Taking the safe checks or the safety checks on the backside of Swamp to not needing to double the dose if necessary, but otherwise heading more or less straight for GD. It's definitely a reasonable call to make. And I mean, this is supported if you have the knowledge of the hint of the unique and mimic cave, which I might see Saltify skip because of not having that hint.
It depends on his state of mind, right? Like, is he thinking, man, I really just want to go mode TR? If you're already set on like full clearing TR, which makes a lot of sense because the double dip is so much worse than everything else, I think you also do Mimic Cave on the way.
Yeah, it's definitely the way to safe play this. It's in this, or at this point, it's kind of like checking those 2 extra chests in the back of Swamp. Although it's just a little bit longer for 1 less item.
Well, it's really 2 items to check Mimic Cave, right? Because like if you're not checking Mimic Cave, you're probably not checking the big chest either.
That is true, actually. So no real reason to really skip out on it.
If he's forced to go to the big chest, say if the big key was vanilla, I think he definitely does Mimic Cave at least. But if he finds the big key early, he might opt on skipping the big chest and Mimic Cave.
Yeah. And for all we know, this might just be the shovel over there.
Or the other boomerang.
Yeah, it could also be silvers, which would be nice, but
yeah,
not
absolutely
necessary. Especially if you intend to do Mimic Clip. Yeah, Dr. Bobtastic continuing through Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, very unfortunate for him.
Will not find anything worthwhile. Cassidy now on the way to finish out Skullwoods. Still searching that.
Bow.
Hammer. So, do you do skip Mimic Cave now?
I think you totally skip it now. Absolutely. Even if you had the hint, you skip it now.
Yeah, I mean, if you have the hint, you 100% skip it now, because you would only need to go over there if it are those silvers, and that you can't know. So only thing we would need to find now is a sword. But that's we need not or don't need to find before we finish Elga 2. We can all up until there with the sword, or without the second sword.
So I think, given our knowledge, having seen all the runners, I think we can safely say that there's definitely a sword in either TR or GT.
Yeah.
There's just not enough item locations left that we haven't seen.
Well, there's
the only opportunity is like if there was a sword on both Armos and Helmasaur, or like the pedestal.
Well, we have still the rest of Warm Palace.
Yeah, that's true. And then there's like the tablets. It's just the odds are so much in favor of there just being a sword on the way.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario for Salty Fry would be like if he had to like go to Randa room when he find the big key in Southwest room.
And like I said, even not finding a sword in GT would probably the worst possible happening for Salty Fry.
Just mirror
Because
over to Uncle.
yeah, just mirroring over to Uncle would deliver or would get that sword just as fast, probably.
It's so funny that Salty Fry orphaning the boots. It's not entirely because of that, but it definitely helped him find the hammer and ice palace sooner.
Yeah, that's for sure, and that's the bane of the other runners here, not going over to that ice palace faster. Although Cassidy's
making the
also
play, yeah.
Cassidy also having left behind the boots a little bit. Did not have the chance either. And also Cassidy did Aga 1 at the very start, so having a small disadvantage here. Also on top of having done Eastern Palace and Palace of Darkness.
Bob opting to check first chest swamp before going into ice. It's not the craziest thing you could do. Like it's almost on the way, but it's a little gambly. It does take a long time just for all these mirror transitions and like screen transitions just to check one chest.
But on the other hand, you can get to Ice Palace very fast at any point that you have the flute. You can't get to Swamp first chest without the hammer very fast.
Right.
So if you can route that in some reasonable way, I can't see going for that play just to be safe.
Literally, Jen sitting on the flute menu, highlighting 8, changes her mind, goes to get some potions first.
Yeah, maybe turning in that mushroom, getting magic refill and safety potions, and then going for 8. Definitely looks like the intention here. But Salty Fry finishing out that fight against Trinix for his 7th crystal, which gives us the chance to play a little game we all came to love.
That's right. There are 22 chests in Ganon Tower that can have the big key that we need to finish this game. If you want to guess which chest Salty Fry will find that big key in, do so now. Anybody who says over like 10 is mean. Josh, you're mean. Chief, you're mean. Number, Surger, Rustiferus.
And while Salty Fry makes his way over to GT, we had a synchronized entry into Ice Palace between from Dr. Bobtastic and literally Jan.
Cassimone, first of our other 3 runners to get the hammer. We still have a race though, because while Salty Fry isn't, it's not unlikely that there's a sword here in GT. There is a chance that the only swords are all in really terrible positions, and he gets the god GT. Okay, so despite Salty finding the big key right away, he's still gonna go over to Compass Room because he'd really like to see a sword.
Yeah. I mean, it is a key neutral play, so whatever you do, you can get that one small key back, even if there's none in the chests here, so... no problem, even if this play does nothing. Just
Was
a
it
bit of time loss.
was it chest 1 or chest 2?
It was 2.
2. In that case, I believe we have no winners. Chat, what the heck?
And there's the sword.
That's go mode for Salty Fry in Kanan's Tower.
Yeah, and even more notably, after finding the big key.
So he's still on Master Sword Silverless, which is a very long and dangerous Ganon fight. Salty Fry is definitely a caliber runner who can do this without too much trouble, but that doesn't really help him as far as speed goes. So I imagine he'll probably still check the chest in the gauntlet.
Yeah, and I mean, we have half magic, or Salty Fry has, so it's not the worst possible situation
Definitely not.
can happen, but you probably really want that torch glitch to work out.
Yeah. Just finding the Tempered Sword or something would probably cut a good minute to 2 minutes off of the fight.
Yeah, and Salty Fry could just easily do that by mirroring over to Uncle.
Oh, he'll never do that.
I mean, mirroring over to Uncle, especially, is not that much of time you lose. And if you have to do Master Sword Silverless without having Uncle done, do you really never do that?
I wouldn't. I can't speak for Salty Fry. Would you do that?
I'm not good enough on Master Sword Silverless Ganon.
I mean, if I knew there was a sword there, then yeah, absolutely I would mirror.
Then I wouldn't do it every time. Without having the knowledge, it would probably depend on how I'm feeling that day, but I might just check those two checks very quickly off for do I really have to do it or not.
I just think like, okay, so there's 2 swords in the pool that I haven't found, right? But I left behind almost all of Ganon's Tower. I didn't do anything on the left side or Ice Armos. I haven't been in Pod. I haven't been in Eastern. I haven't been in Hera. Like the odds that those 2 checks right there are going to have a sword are so low. I think I'd just do the fight.
Yeah, like I said, the more or the less confident you are in your Master Sword Silverless fight.
Yeah, definitely can affect your decision making.
So, I mean, at this point in time, I don't really know how much of a safety Salty Fry has still left. I mean, having two blue potions, I probably would be confident enough to do Masters of Silverless anyway. But
well,
yeah,
we know as the as the all-seeing observers of the race that it would definitely be a time save if he did mirror to it at least. Oh, just barely not making that after taking that unfortunate fall. He'll have to finish this with the lamp.
And we are now going to get to see
By the way, guys,
all
don't
3 boss
right
fights at the same time.
That bonking right there, like Salty Fry just did, is a time loss. Don't do that. He only checks one of the chests. That's so interesting.
It is the quicker chest, so he apparently seems confident in his Master Sword Silverless. Doesn't want to go out of his ways to check any more out of the way chests.
Well, I mean, there's out of the way, and then there's out of the way, right? That chest was right there.
Yeah, but still 2-3 seconds you need to extra to just walk over there. That one chest is
Well, I can definitely say with him skipping that one chest, that would have cost him like 2-3 seconds. He's definitely not doing the uncle drop, which would cost him like more like 30 seconds.
Definitely not. If you were to go for that one, you would have checked that chest also. So. Fantastic done with Cold Stare Voyage and just starting out. But with Fire Rod and Half Magic, this is one of the easiest fights in the game. Just spam those Fire Rod shots.
Nice Aga fight from Salty Fry, and that puts him in the Ganon fight. So Salty Fry is doing this with the minimum offensive capability. He is on Master Sword Silverless. He will have to do 12 spins in the first phase, 12 spins in the second phase, 4 in the third, and then 24 spins during the fourth phase. That's a lot of spins.
That is really a lot of spins. But there are some ways you can make your life a bit easier depending on how Ganon wants to play this out. Especially if Ganon gets close to the wall, but not really. Leaves one tile space for you to slip in. You can land those double spins.
Salty opts to take a bunch of damage to get through the first phase a lot quicker, and unfortunately walks into the fire bats right before he activates the cave. So we get to start over.
Second try.
Yeah, he was playing a little aggressively there. All right, we're on to the second phase. He switches off the cape. I mean, it makes sense, right? You don't want to use up all your magic in the second phase, but the cape would be really helpful for getting through it quickly. Gets a nice spot in the top left. He'll be able to get doubles each of these spins. Uses cape to get out of the circle, and we're into phase 3.
So we got done with the kinda hard part. So now it's just the...
Yeah, I think we've made it through the dangerous part, but now we're on to the endurance part.
Right.
Of course, fire bats are still dangerous, but I think they only do 3 hearts to blue mail, so he could eat 1 and still be okay. Getting the torch glitch here, very important. He nails it. 24 spins to get through this.
Yeah, but with the fire rod you can land those triple spins if you want. And if you have, especially if you have reserve magic in the form of a blue potion,
which I do think he does have a blue.
It is actually just that much faster.
Yeah, if you got triples every single time, it saves you 4 cycles on Master Sword Silverless. Compared to like Tempered and Butter, where it would only save you 1 cycle.
And as someone in chat pointed out, I don't really see any of our other runners actually getting the Tempered Sword from DT. in this case. Because
Yeah, unfortunately, having the Master Sword already, there's very little reason for them to opt to go all the way to Compass Room like that.
So that Master Sword Silverless we might just see from
4
everyone
times, yeah.
here.
Salty Fry doing a really good job. This is the main challenge here isn't really the silverless part. It's just doing the silverless part for such a long time.
Yeah, I had times where I was on spin number 23, then I missed one, got hit by an unfortunate firebed and pushed off.
He does it. He takes down the big pig, Master Sword Silverless. Salty Fry putting on a clinic for us today. Thank you so much to him. GG. Salty Fry finishes 3rd overall in this race today. I'm sorry, 4th overall in this race today with a time of 1:35.28.
Yeah, and winning this race off stream today actually did it lunchtime with a time of 1 hour 30 minutes and 16 seconds, so about 5 minutes earlier.
You gotta think Salty Fry can't feel that bad, right? Like, even, I mean, obviously, like, not getting the boots earlier than he did hurt him, but to still only finish about 5 minutes behind first place seems pretty good.
Yeah, and not even having that sword that most other runners probably did get. We have Salty Fry here with us for an interview. GG. Oh,
Welcome, Salty Fry.
there was some light, but nothing to be heard. So, I can't hear you. Can you hear him, Koi?
I have not heard anything yet.
Hello?
Oh, hi. There you are.
Now it's
There we go. I don't know what I did, but now it's working. Yeah. Thanks for the GG.
Yeah, so what are your thoughts today on this?
I would have loved to have had another sword at some point in time earlier on. I mean, doing fighter sword only Vitreous is never what I look to do, but I did it
Yeah,
today.
that was a little rough.
Well, overall it went pretty good. It just takes forever. That's the only thing about it, right? Like, if you can kind of get in a rhythm, it's fine, but the fight takes forever, right? It's the same thing with
Yeah.
Master Sword Silverless Ganon, right? Phase 4 of it, it's not difficult. It just takes forever. That's the problem.
So do you want to know where you could have found another sword?
I really hope you're not going to tell me Hyrule Castle.
Not
No.
exactly.
Not exactly in the castle, but
There's a
close.
Yes, by Uncle.
Yeah, I was really hoping that wasn't the case. Like, I tried to go in there, and then the little dwarf wouldn't let me go in. I felt like I had it so well planned at that point in time to kind of do this nice loop all the way around the world, kind of catch pretty much everything along the way. And then I tried to go into the castle, and he's like, "You can't go in there." I'm like, "Crap." It's like, I know you can't take him into I know you couldn't take him into dungeons. I guess I could have go all the way around and jump. Yeah, I guess I didn't even think about that. I was just kind of frustrated by that because I had this perfect plan that it felt like, and then it all went down the tube with that one little plan, I guess. But everything else went pretty well. I can't really complain too much. Overall, it was not too bad.
Yeah, I'd say like the biggest time loss for your run, which, you still got a 1:35, so time loss is kind of maybe not the right word, was just putting off the boots for so long.
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting. There was a race the other night where I accidentally, I always have this rule. Like, you always check K45, you always check Bombo's tablet before going into Swamp Palace. Because if you go into Swamp, you end up full clearing it, and the thing's right there, you feel absolutely terrible. So this time I did it. The other night, I absolutely forgot it, and it was sitting on Bombos, and I full cleared Swamp for absolutely nothing. And I felt absolutely terrible about it. So this time, there was no way I was doing that again.
Oh, that's where the Forest Sword was.
Yeah, I just saw that. I didn't want to say that until it showed up, but yeah, I saw that as well. Yeah, on the ped apparently. So that's fine.
Okay.
Well, at least you can feel content that everybody else in the entire race is probably going to be doing Master Sword Silverless Cannon as well.
Yeah, I guess so. Since most of them would probably just have gone right up the Cannon's Tower
Yeah, I
after getting the
imagine
big key.
very
That was
few
kind of
people-
depressing. I didn't really like getting the big key right off the back there either, since I knew I had to kind of keep going, right? Like, it
Right.
sucks because just knowing like if anyone else found a sword anywhere, they're on their way up right away there. But at least it wasn't too.
Would you have
bad.
done? Would you have done more of the tower if there wasn't a sword and compass room?
I was gonna have to keep on searching. Yeah, I was gonna clear everything probably but tile room on the way up there at that point. And the good part was if I found nothing, at least the first place I would have checked would have been Hyrule Castle, so I would have found
Right.
that sword very quickly in that situation. But I would have full cleared all of GT before I got there, which would have absolutely sucked. Another interesting thing was the bow as well. Like, since I got that hint in Ice that said there was a unique item in GT, my first thought was, oh, the bow might be in GT as well. And at the same time, there was a time where I spent like 18 minutes after entering GT searching for the bow when I probably could have figured out how to do the mimic clip in that amount of time. So the whole time while I'm kind of making my way through swamp and whatnot, I'm searching around on my laptop trying to pull up a video of the mimic clip just in case I needed it. Thankfully, the bow was just kind of sitting there right in my way where you couldn't really miss it, so that worked out pretty well.
The execution for it is a little tight. You might not have been able to do that as fast as it would have taken you to just find the bow somewhere.
Well, the one race, it took me literally 18 minutes from the moment that I entered GT until I found the bow, albeit it was a key sanity seed as well. And I remember just thinking, I'm like, I might as well have just gone right up and tried to figure it out. I'm sure I could have figured it out in 18 minutes.
Well, the thing with the mimics too is like it's a frame perfect action, just like spin speed, but you use like menu buffers typically. But you have to do it so many times in a row without messing up.
Definitely would have been interesting if I had decided to go for that for my first time
Yeah,
ever on
absolutely.
Restream as well. Everyone gets to watch me try and fail horribly, mostly.
It's definitely a cool tech to learn.
It's definitely one of those things, especially with the possibility of less crystals entering GT upcoming. I definitely need to take some time and learn how to do. I just haven't really bothered with much stuff recently. There hasn't been any tournaments or anything like that. So when it's just casual races, I don't really feel a whole lot of motivation to put time in and really learn stuff.
Yeah, the fewer crystals required to enter GT options coming up in B31. It really makes me think that everyone's just going to opt to do quick Ganon. Like just have straight access to Ganon or not have to do GT, because the mimic clip and hovering would be so powerful in that mode if you still had to do Agatu.
Yeah, it would really open that up, that's for sure. Like, just having to do that makes a big difference. And being able to do those things would make all the difference as well at that.
It's funny though, because I think the boots hint that gave about K45 having a unique item, that was a Spectral Rock Cave. So everybody else knew that there was something there the whole time where you had put it off. And then there was another hint in Pod for a unique item in Mimic Cave. So I imagine most people thought that was the bow, and would have been drawn there to get the bow. But you were working with none of this information.
I could have sworn I checked Spectacle Rock Cave when I went up Death Mountain the first time.
You may have and just forgot about it. I do that from time to time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I definitely didn't check Pod. I know that for sure, but I could have sworn I did check Spectacle Rock.
Maybe it was Eastern. I might be misremembering.
The hint was definitely on Spectacle Rock. I remember Bobtastic getting that hint, but later on for us to read again.
Was it at the top of Hera, maybe? Because I know I only checked the first floor of Hera. I wasn't really interested in doing the basement to go up top to find one item and a hint at that.
It was definitely on Spectacle Rock. The hint, a unique item is near the Haunted Grove.
Oh, okay. Near the Haunted Grove. Oh, okay. I was thinking that was actually the Ice Rod on Stumpy, because I thought it was actually in the Haunted Grove. Oh, okay. So that's actually K45. Okay, so that one actually... Okay, yeah, I did get that one. But I was thinking that was the Ice Rod... Okay,
Stumpy
so
hint
that's
is a different wording, I think.
Yeah, I think the Stumpy hint is on a stump.
Yeah, I've gotten something like that before, but I don't know, like near the Haunted Grove. I don't know. I was just kind of thinking that area, so I thought maybe it could be Stumpy. Maybe it would be even the shovel
Right, so you
as
find the ice
well.
rod and think, oh, that was it.
Yeah, so I completely
Okay.
put that out of my mind. So that's what ended up happening there, actually, as well. So that's interesting. Yeah. Well, that's just me not really knowing hints that well, more than anything. Otherwise, I would have definitely gone and checked that one out much sooner if that was the case, actually. As
Yeah, okay, I can get behind it because the first time I read that hint, I also didn't really know what exactly that meant, and
No, even when I
then
got it, I had to sit there and think for a while. I'm like, Haunted Grove? Where the hell's the Haunted Grove? Like, at first I was thinking, I'm like, that's not like up around the graveyard, is it? Like, that's kind of a haunted area. And then I'm like, oh, no, that's the area you get the flute in, right? In the vanilla game, right? So, yeah, my immediate thought was, oh, I went to Stumpy and got the ice rods. That must have been what it was. But apparently I was way off on that.
yeah, well, that explains quite a bit because we were wondering for quite some time, even
Yeah,
especially.
why does he just hate K45?
Yeah, and you would have been the first one to get it by far. So
Yeah, because basically boots were kind of my go mode, or at least start going to GT mode type item at that point in time. Once I got them, I knew where the fire rod was. Yeah, I guess if I'd gotten those earlier, it obviously would have saved me a double dip of desert for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, the big play here was just going to Ice Palace. I think all of our other runners, they all opted to go to Pod instead.
Yeah, that has a lot to do with just my last few races. It feels like Ice Palace has been the play in every race I've done recently. There was one race where there was literally the last 3 items you needed one after another in there. It was kind of crazy. It just feels like it's been loaded recently. I don't know. It was just it's a lot easier. It's also a lot easier to get to when you don't have the hammer than Pod as well. Getting to Pod's a real pain.
Pod actually ended up being completely bow locked too by the first chest. But I think everybody sequence broke it, hoping that maybe the bow was just in Ice Palace and the hammer was in Pod.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things. Like in this one, you never know, especially with the Pod and Eastern as the pendants, where that bow could it really could be anywhere.
yeah, but we were also just speculating about not finding that boot earlier might actually been kind of a blessing in disguise, leading to you to that hammer just that bit earlier.
Yeah, because I guess that's true. I could have gotten those well before the hammer. I didn't even think about that. Like, well before going to ice, before going to mine, or like I did a lot of stuff when I could had those boots.
Yeah, I can definitely. It doesn't like the fire rod wouldn't really have left you anywhere that would have gotten you sidetracked, but it can definitely change like your way of thinking. Like maybe after doing Skullwoods, Pod looks better than going to all the way up to get bombos,
Well, at the same time, if I had the fire rod, I wouldn't have necessarily had to. I might have gone to ice a little earlier since I didn't have the admire option without going all the way up there to get bombos. That was a long way to go get bombos. And I even kind of screwed that up as I tried to go across the bridge, and then I realized, oh, I don't have the hammer. I got to go the other way. Thieves Town was also another one where I absolutely hate going all the way to the back without the hammer. And then, like, I open the first 4 chests and there's not a single item there. I'm like, oh, that's great. So now I know there has to be an item in the big chest that I'm not going to be able to get unless the hammer's in.
That was something I wanted to ask you about, because like most players, like when they're in Village of Actors for the first time, at the very least they check the first 4, but you opted to not even do the first 4 and continue on to Hype Cave. Did you just not like that little double dip either?
I try not.
I
usually
not going to the back, but just the first 4 is just such a convenient double dip.
In this situation, maybe I should have, but at the same time, it kind of rings back to when Thieves Town is a pendant. I absolutely hate that situation because I find if I do the first 4, I never want to come back to do the back 4, so I inevitably put it off until I have to. And then I just end up full clearing the whole thing usually. So I just hate the decision of kind of go in, not go in, or whatever. That's more from the pendant perspective. And in this situation, I'm almost always just kind of trying to get over to Hype Cave first, just to check what's there, because so many checks there.
Hammer and Hype Cave is pretty horrible for most runners.
So I get over there first and see what's there, and then I'll come back over to Thieves Town usually and see what's going on. It's usually my kind of plan, but I usually want to get to Hype Cave first before Thieves Town. And like I went in there and saw the first 4, and like I was planning on going all the way through at that point in time. And as soon as I saw those first 4, I'm like, oh, let's search some more for the hammer before we go through this. So I checked some Skull Woods, a couple other things, and then eventually just got to the point where I was like, all right, I guess we got to do this.
Yeah, that's one of the fun things about Rando, though, is that there isn't like one absolutely right way to route everything until you know where everything is.
No,
So
exactly.
like my the way I typically route like Crystal Thieves Town is I have no problem going all the way to blind if without the hammer the first time I'm in Village Broadcast. Other people only do the first 4, and then like you wanted to avoid it completely until you had the hammer or no choice to do it.
I just had a lot of races in the past where there's been that item in the big chest of Thieves
Right,
Town,
yeah.
and the one person who puts off Thieves Town just long enough to get the hammer runs away with the race. And I kind of learned, I don't know if it's learned or just from experience, that I just kind of try to do that sometimes. Sometimes it works, other times it doesn't. You know, rando thing.
Yeah, they're definitely gambles that I refuse to take anymore because they burned me so many times.
There's like sometimes like it'll be like in the purple chest or whatever, and getting all the way to the purple chest before going all the way to the back of Thieves Town can be quite the task sometimes, especially if you don't have the mirror.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting seed with all those possibilities. I mean, even early in the seed, at one point, you could have assumed maybe this is actually an Agger seed, because we got very fast access to Agger 1 actually.
Yeah, I guess I just didn't really get the swords very early was kind of my problem. If I went and got that first sword and then went and got the one under from Hobo, like I guess Hobo was my first sword, and that wasn't until I'd already been all the way up Death Mountain to actually get the flipper. Or no, that was actually after I'd already been to Death or Dark World and started to make my way around, I guess, when I finally got that sword. So it wasn't exactly looking like it so much for me, I guess, but I could kind of see where that would be the case if you got those swords early on, especially with the cape as well and the lamp.
Yeah, that's what happened to Cassidy Mullen, one of our restreamed runners. He did like the front of Escape late, but before Death Mountain. So when he was in front of Escape, he had full AGA access and had to make that call. Well, do I just do AGA or do I go up the mountain? And he opted for AGA, unfortunately.
Yeah, I've been in that situation. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. The hammer is never the fun one to be looking for either, because it partially, like when you're looking for the hammer, that you can partially clear so many dungeons. You can go through most of Pod, usually part of Swamp. You leave that one chest in Thieves Town if you don't have it. You can get in parts of Ice, so it's never fun because there's all these partially clearable dungeons where you're just kind of wondering, is this the right play? Is it not? No matter what you do, it kind of feels like a gamble one way or another. I mean, at least with the mitts, it completely blocks you out of Ice, Mire, and Turtle Rock, so there's not really much gambling to be made. You just go elsewhere.
Cassidy does take down the Big Pig, that very arduous Master Sword Soloist fight as well, finishing 10th overall with a time of 1:52.20. GG's to Cassidy.
Yeah. Apparently, though, Cassidy did decline the interview, so we will have to do without it.
Yeah, I think from Cassidy's point of view, this might be a little bit more of a tilting race, having done AGA. And then he also made that play into Pod really early and got nothing to show for it.
Yeah, it just worked not out from the start, and then the risk to make up for some of it didn't pay out either, so
Yeah. It just goes to show that in randomizer, like everything you do is a gamble. Even things that aren't even gambles are still gambles because they take time. And if you get nothing to show for that time, then you're behind already.
I can really understand why he'd go into Pod over Ice if he'd actually done AGA, since it would have been a lot easier for him to get over there as well, compared to having to enter way over on the west side of Dark World and wander all the way over to.
I mean, I think
his main reason
was
Oh, so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, Cassidy did AGA before going to Death Mountain, and so didn't have the Moon Pearl either, so couldn't really do pretty much anything in the Dark World after Aga, so had to go back to the mountain, but had already done Eastern at that point, and after finding that moon pearl, knew this was a waste of time up until that point, so going straight for Port immediately after to maybe make up some of that lost time, which did not pay out. So it was just a very, very unfortunate start for Cassidy in this race.
Dr. Bob having a little trouble staying alive here in phase 2. He does have a fairy though, so it's gonna be okay for a little bit longer. Oh, his death sprite is a small key. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, he's made it through phase 2. That's the dangerous phase. So this is kind of a rough scene for most everyone. Hammer and Ice Palace is very awkward, and then with where the swords and silvers were, everyone is going to be doing Master Sword Circles.
Yeah, it's good practice on low percent for people if they haven't recently, I guess.
Robot testing, just doing away steadily at Ganon.
Yeah, he's having a little trouble getting those triples.
Yeah.
Definitely not the easiest tech in the game to get triples on Ganon.
I mean, you can do it consistently if you not rush into chaining triples. You can just take your time setting them up. And it is not the hardest thing, but getting them off consistently does require a bit of effort and concentration.
Yeah, the trick to triples here is you want to time your fire rod shot to relight the torch as Ganon is landing. If you do it a little too late, it becomes much more difficult to get the triple, and it's easy to turn him blue. And if you do it too early, he just like kind of disappears on you. And all this while keeping in mind that, oh, if I accidentally get too close and walk into him, I'm dead.
And if you're a little bit too far away and miss your spin, you get hit by a bat. Or if you walk into a bat because you do want that hit just a bit too much, this fight can be just over. And then making it to phase 3.
Nice cape spin.
And Dr. Bobtastic running a bit low of magic, switching to the lamp.
I know he has another fairy. I'm not sure if he has another magic refill.
I would assume not, or else he would probably stay on. Oh,
Don't scare me like that!
That was a little bit risky. Oh, and Jen did miss that torch glitch, and on Master Sword Silverless, I don't think you want to go for that.
Yeah, you just leave, right? She's
I
going
mean-
for it.
I mean, I went at it one time when I had still 2 blue potions left and thought, okay, let's just try it. I don't want to do the first 3 phases again, but
So if lighting the torches is like desynced, if there's just a couple seconds in between lighting them, you're only able to get 1 spin per cycle, which is not going to be enough to finish the fight.
I mean, with the fire rod well timed, I think you
Yeah,
can
with
manage to
with
get
the
double.
with 2 fire rod shots, you can get doubles by just doing them quickly enough, or even just like lamping one, menuing, and then fire rodding the other real quick.
So you,
But triples are near impossible to get if you don't have the torch glitch. And needing 24 spins to do the phase, she might not have enough magic like this.
this definitely looks like there won't be enough magic.
This is the last one. And he's not dead! You're supposed to be dead, get it! Unfortunately, Jin has run out of magic and will have to go get a refill before starting again. Alright, you fill up your magic, you grab some blues, you get back in there. Jen's got it. Jen has got it. We welcome Dr. Bob Tastic himself to the voice chat. Welcome, Bob and GG.
Hello, hello, hello. So, yeah, that was a thing. I'd like to call that performance How to Last Location the Hammer in 29 Easy Steps.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can understand why you would go to pod, right? Like, it's a much nicer place for the hammer to be.
Yeah, well, there was a possibility that the hammer was there. I was thinking maybe the bow's in Ice Palace and then the hammer's in pod. And so I'll just do that and then I won't have to worry about anything else. But nope. Yeah, I was feeling real good kind of putting off that whole eastern section until I didn't. But yeah. So I'm assuming somebody else found another sword somewhere.
Well, I mean, we know where they are. There was
Yeah.
a sword on the pedestal, and the other was in Compass Room. But like typical routing for the seed. everyone-
No.
As in,
So
no
pedestal was never gonna happen, and
Yeah, I'm with God GT. Like, why would you go to
Yeah,
Compass Room if
nope.
you got a Master Sword already?
I mean, I looked at that. I walked in there. I'm like, I'm gonna get small key, big key, aren't I? That's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna miss out on the sword and the silvers and where all this other junk. But oh well. I mean, at least I survived. I probably gave some people a heart attack in chat. I did still have one
The
fairy
bomb.
left, so it wasn't really that big a deal. But the magic was an issue.
Yeah, I mean, you certainly gave us a heart attack, though not really because of you dying, but more of you just getting pushed off there close to the end, possibly.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, I
it
guess
looked,
if the hit had killed him, like the fairy would have reset his momentum, right?
that is true.
That is true, actually, yeah.
Yeah, I thought I didn't feel like I was close to falling off at any point. It might have looked that way on the stream. But yeah, you know, I'm not gonna complain about, you know, a seed where I get two, where I end up last locationing the hammer, like actually literally last locationing the hammer, and end up having to do Master Sword Silverless and still getting sub 2. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think you did really well, honestly. Like you didn't. Okay, so like when I'm looking at a rando seed and trying to judge, like, did I screw something up, or was it just like a bad seed for my decision making? I think that every decision you made absolute sense, and it was just RNG that the hammer was just somewhere else.
The only decision I made that didn't make any sense was skipping Hookshot Cave the first time I was up there, because I forgot I had the gloves.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, you get the mitts there, and you're like, ooh, Dark World access, and then you leave.
Yeah, but then I did the Super Bunny Cave, and that was fine. But then I was like, wait. But I did see Bombos up there, and I knew I was going to need it, so I waited till I found the mirror. Luckily, it was not in Hookshot Cave. I would have really had some trouble if that was the case. I even did first chest a swamp, which feels real bad.
Yeah, I think of everything that happened in the sea, that's the only one that I found like the most questionable. Because
the only reason I did it is because I was going into the Dark World along the south side anyway. And I was like, that's kind of on the way to Ice Palace.
Yeah.
I'm figuring Ice Palace, but it's kind of on the way, so I'm just like, all right, fine.
Yeah, checking for Chest Swamp is something that I've definitely been known to do, but I'm not sure I would have done it in your position. But I mean, it could have paid off, right? It could have been the hammer.
Yeah.
How awesome would you have felt then?
Pretty good.
Also, leaving that behind there would definitely hurt more than not getting earlier to Ice Palace, since you always can go over to Ice Palace just fine, but getting back to that first chest and swamp just for that one check, that hurts.
Yeah. And I'm not gonna lie, I was sitting there from, I'm gonna say, as soon as I found the mirror, I was thinking, I'm gonna have to go into Ice Palace with a hammer, aren't I? I was like, that's really not a play I'm gonna make, but that's the worst case scenario I could think of, and I just conjured it up into real life. That's what happened.
And literally, Jen on the refight nails the torch glitch and finishes Master Sword Silverless Ganon, finishing 18th overall with a time of 2:07:15. Thank you, Number Play, for that information.
Well done, well done.
G.
All right, so I guess I'll probably step out, let you guys talk to Jen. But thanks for having me on, and I'll see you later.
We'll see you, Bob. Thank you so much for being on the restream for us.
No problem.
And welcome, literally, Jen, to the voice chat. GG, Jen.
GG.
Hey, GG.
So kind of a trolley seat tonight.
I'm so tilted. Why did I save and quit in Palace of Darkness? I was gonna go to Ice Palace. I'm so mad.
Yeah, kind of a rough location for the hammer for most runners. Like going to Ice Palace without the hammer by itself is already like this big gamble, and then to do it without already having been to Potter Eastern, it's very difficult to make that call.
But yeah, I was gonna route all the way through the top side, go down to Pod Eastern, and then just go right into Ice Palace because I was like, well, there's hints. It'll be something. And
Yeah,
that
that's an
flute!
Yeah, the flute and the back of the sound. You know, I'm actually a little surprised that nobody on the restream opted to just go after blind, because that's definitely a call that I've been known to make. Is it's a crystal. Like, I'll just assume there's nothing in the big chest, but I assume everybody's been burned by the big chest enough times that they're a little gun shy for orphaning that.
Well, also seeing all the dungeon items, like you already know it's not a gamble anymore. Like you're going in knowing you're leaving something.
Right. But we do know where the other swords are if you're interested.
Yes, please.
So one sword was in Compass Room, a place that you had no reason to go since you already had Master Sword when you find the big key. And our fourth sword, you're about to find out in the credits, was on Pedestal.
What are...
Fun seed. Fun seed.
So someone went in with just Spider Sword?
Yeah, Salty Fry never visited the uncle, so he was on Fighter Sword when he got to GT.
Damn.
But we can be assured that nearly everybody in the race will be doing Master Sword Silverless, so you are not alone.
I mean, there is potential for someone to do Master Sword Silvers, apparently, since Ravis did tell us to find having found the silvers in Render Room. So if you are actually maybe doing a full left play, you are picking up the silvers, but you're likely never going to pick up that third sword.
That's so trolly.
I mean, like, even if you do that, though, right? Like, you had to check a bunch more chests in GT before you found the big key.
Yeah, it probably would have still saved you time if you mirrored out after in the room, but yeah, we think most of the people would do Master Sword Silverless here on the seed.
Silvers with the Master Sword definitely saves a lot of time versus Master Sword Silverless.
Well, at least if you manage to nail that torch glitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little surprised you tried to continue the fight there after you missed the torch glitch. Like, I feel like most people just restart the fight at that point if they miss it on Master Sword Silverless.
I had a potion. It was pretty close. Sometimes I get all the hits.
You could have done it if you did like lamp and fire rod. Like you stand next to one torch, lamp it, and then quickly menu and fire rod the other, and you could still get 2 spins per cycle that way, and it would cost you a little bit less magic.
I thought of that while I was falling.
Hindsight is 20/20, as they say.
That was pretty fun though for Hammer and Ice Palace.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting scene. And then, like, the hammer is so trolly. And then once you do find the hammer, you're still like, okay, where's my bow?
That made me so nervous, but everyone was finishing in 1:30, and it was like, well, either everyone knows this mimic clip and I'm forfeiting in half an hour, or...
Yeah, you're right. With everybody finishing at that time, it's pretty likely the bow was just on the way. Well, I think we're almost ready to wrap it up here. Do you have any more thoughts on the seed, Jen, or even you, Salty Fry?
I'll just say thanks to you guys for commentating. Thanks for the restream, and see you guys next.
Yeah, I've never been restreamed for a daily, so it was super fun to be on the other side. Thank you, everybody.
I think you both did very fantastic. Obviously, Jen had a little rougher time getting to Ganon, but still, like 207 on a seed where you had to do Master Sword Silverless, the hammer was an Ice Palace, and the Go mode bow could have been in GT. Like, I think you guys did great. Thank you so much to Dr. Bob, Cassidy Moan, literally Jen, and Salty Fry for being on the restream for us. They are putting themselves out there for our entertainment and getting very little for it. So make sure you go to their streams, guys, and click that follow button. They deserve it. And also thanks to our trackers. Who are the trackers? Oh.
Well, we can find
Number
out if you
Play
want.
and Chief Salad. Number Play and Chief Salad. I knew that. Tracking is a very thankless job, you know. Like they're all behind the scenes. You don't really like hear much from them, but they are doing a lot of work for us, and we much appreciate that. So give them a follow as well.
Yeah, especially in this kind of race where everything does his own thing and finds different things at different times, and we can't get even half of them to notice in time.
Right. But I think that's about does it. So guys, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned to the Speed Gaming channels for more speed running fun. And it's going to be a goodbye from me. Have a wonderful day, everyone.